Hello and welcome to Actor Talk. In my very first episode, I will be discussing what method acting really is. So recently I saw a Facebook post on a Christian casting site which was entitled 15 times stars took method acting too far. Now one of the people who commented on that post said, just say no to method acting. And I realized something. Most people have no idea what method acting really is. So I'm going to take some time here to explain to you what method acting actually is. Alright, so what is method acting? Well, first we need to define our terms. So first of all, the term acting. Sanford Meisner said acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. So let's break that down a little bit. Imaginary circumstances is the story, the situation that you're in. For example, if I was playing Sherlock Holmes in a movie, my name isn't Sherlock Holmes, that's imaginary. I'm not in London, that's imaginary. I don't really have an arch nemesis named Professor Moriarty. That's imaginary. I'm not really entangled in some big plot to destroy the government. That's imaginary. Any play or movie you do, it's all imaginary circumstances. Are not true to what's going on in your life right now. Now, what is living truthfully? Living truthfully has the idea of really doing. So you're not faking it. There's no faking of emotions, of actions. And I'll talk about that in a later video in more detail because I know some of you are going to be a little confused by that because there are certain things you don't really do. But for the most part, you're really doing. Now, the definition for method. Here's where everyone gets tripped up and what method acting is. First of all, the definition of method, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is 1. It's a way, technique, or process of or for doing something. Second definition, a body of skills or techniques. So, method acting really is just a process or an approach to acting, as opposed to not having any approach. So, for example, if you studied Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, Sanford Meisner, Uta Hagen, Practical Aesthetics, Michael Shurtleff, Viola Spolin, Michael Chekhov, any of those people, if you studied any of those techniques, you are by definition a method actor. If you had never went to acting school, if you never studied any type of technique, you are not a method actor. In other words, you are an untrained actor. Now, the problem with the term method today is it's been changed from its actual meaning, its dictionary meaning, and what it originally meant back in the 30s and 40s, to mean someone who does crazy things like gains or loses a lot of weight for a role, or secludes themselves for a very long time, or does really weird things like staying in character for the entire shoot, even offset, things like that. And that's not what method acting really is. Now, there's only two types of actors, as I've alluded to before. Trained actors, which would be method actors, and non-trained actors, people that didn't study anything. That's really all there is. So I want to give you some quick history into how this type of acting, method acting, if you will, came about. Now, to fully understand what method acting really is, we need to have a little bit of a history lesson here. So we're going to go all the way back to 1931, New York, where an acting troupe came together called the Group Theater. It was formed by Harold Clurman, Cheryl Crawford, and Lee Strasberg. And they were heavily influenced by a group of actors from Moscow who came and toured in the United States. Their acting was so different from American acting in that time, so genuine, so raw, that they learned the techniques which were developed by a man named Konstantin Stanislavski and was known as the Stanislavski system. Some very notable people were a part of the Group Theater, including Stella Adler, Lee Strasberg, Bobby Lewis, Clifford Odets, Lee J. Cobb. They all studied Stanislavski and used it as the source for their acting, and it totally revolutionized acting in America. Before the Stanislavski system came to America, actors in vaudeville and other theaters and early silent pictures all acted by indicating. Indicating is where you make it look like you're experiencing emotion without actually experiencing the motion. So it involved a lot of mugging, a lot of gestures, even predetermined gestures to convey an emotion. So if you needed to cry, you make that face. If you want to be happy, if you were in shock, all those things. I'm not really feeling those emotions, but I'm making it look like I'm feeling those emotions. And that's what pervaded American theater. Stanislavski's system, however, started from the inside and worked its way out. So that way you were experiencing true emotion and therefore had a very gripping performance. 3 members of the group theater, Sanford Meisner, Stella Adler, and Lee Strasberg, all took Stanislavski's teachings and developed them themselves to be able to teach in America, and became the 3 greatest acting teachers in America and throughout the 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. They each had their own approach to it, while they all stayed very much within the context of Stanislavski's system. They each had their slight own philosophies or approaches to the system. I'm not going to get too much into detail about the differences between Meisner, Adler, and Strasberg, but it mainly broke down to the way you prepare for emotional scenes and how you do emotion. And that's something I'll save for another video. But just know that that was the main disagreement between the 3 of them. However, they all stayed within the Stanislavski system, which became known as method acting. Now, pretty much any well-known actor you can think of studied some form of Stanislavski as taught by Meisner, Adler, or Strasberg. Take, for example, Marlon Brando, considered the father of modern acting, studied with Stella Adler. You also have people like Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis, Gary Oldman, and Philip Seymour Hoffman, and any number of other actors you can think of most likely studied this technique. Even going back to people like Grace Kelly and Gregory Peck studied with Meisner. It became the most influential form of acting in America very quickly. Now you might ask, what about all the actors who do crazy things? People like Daniel Day-Lewis, who stay in character for the entire duration of a shoot, or Christian Bale, who loses a ton of weight for The Machinist, or Adrien Brody, who sells everything he owns and goes and lives out on the streets, as it were, for The Pianist. I believe an actor should do whatever is necessary to be able to truthfully play the role, as long as they don't cross moral boundaries or put themselves or others in harm's way. Acting really is a pragmatic art form. The ends justify the means, to an extent. For example, if I had to play a character who is trapped in a landslide for several weeks, I'm not going to go out someplace and bury myself alive for a week or whatever to see what that's like so I can truly play the part with as much truth as possible. That's putting myself in a dangerous situation. However, if I go to the smallest closet in my house, close the door, turn off the light, and pile a bunch of blankets on me so I can see what it feels like to be claustrophobic and unable to move, that I think could be necessary for me to be able to fully, truly play the part without putting myself in any danger of injury or dying. As far as actors who go to ridiculous lengths to prepare for a role, that's on them. I don't think it's right if they are harming themselves or other people or crossing moral boundaries. However, that's their decision, not mine. I do think it's interesting that since the year 2000, roughly 75% of all Oscar winners have been method actors. I think that says something to the validity of studying method acting. So to sum it all up, a method actor is someone who has studied and adheres to a particular system or approach to acting that gives them a solid foundation to work from and build up a great performance. There are those actors who go beyond what method acting really is, but they do not represent the majority of true method actors. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments or questions, please drop a comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much.